Good morning, folks, and namaste, as they say in this stunning part of the world. Aerosoft and Limesim have released their long-awaited Lukla Mount Everest Extreme scenery package for Prepared version 4. The scenery has a huge coverage area of nearly 40,000 square kilometers. Hand-placed points of interest including mountain villages and stupas. A number of highly detailed airports with accurately modeled sloping runways, PBR textures, photorail surroundings, and detailed charts in the manual for each of the airports. They've also taken the time to model and include a few chuckle-inducing Easter eggs. In this video, I'm going to do a flight out of Kathmandu in the Milviz Turbine Otter to two of the airports included in the scenery package. The famous Lukla airport, of course, and Phaplu airport, which is just 12 miles to the south of Lukla. So as is typical of the high mountains of Nepal, I got to fly through a range of extremely diverse weather conditions, from scud running in and out of clouds in the first leg of the trip to Lukla, to bright sunshine under a cloudless sky on the second leg from Lukla to Phaplu. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to walk you through the route I flew from Kathmandu to Lukla. But you can feel free to skip ahead to the flying portion of the video and come back to the flight plan segment later when you want to fly this route yourself. This is a scenery package from Aerosoft that I was much looking forward to seeing released for Prepared version 4. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you enjoy watching it. Alright folks, the documentation from Aerosoft on the two common routes going from Kathmandu to Lukla was somewhat limited, so I thought it'd be helpful to do a quick primer on these two routes. The two common routes to Lukla are the northern route, depicted here in magenta, and the southern route, shown in blue. The southern route is by far the easiest of the two. So you're going to depart Kathmandu southeastbound, climb to around 10,000 feet, and follow the valley southeast towards the Lamijura airport, Victor November Romeo Tango, on the map, until you get to the Dudh Koshi River Valley. You're then simply going to follow the Dudh Koshi River north until you get to Lukla. The northern route seemed a bit more challenging and fun, as it involved traversing a high mountain pass. Now, I made the mistake of not researching the elevation of that pass before I did my flight, and as you'll see in the video, that made things a bit more interesting than they needed to be. So I'd recommend a cruising altitude of at least 13,000 feet for this route. Alright, so if you decide to fly the northern route to Lukla, here's how you can do it. Depart Kathmandu, heading east, and track outbound in the Kathmandu Radial 106 until you get to about 15 miles DME. You then want to turn about 30 degrees north or so to intercept and join the Kathmandu Radial 095 outbound until you get to 25 miles DME. At this point, you're going to continue on a roughly 095 degree heading eastbound for another 25 miles or so until you get to your first VFR waypoint, which is located south of this town called Jiri. So Jiri will be a settlement located in a valley just to the north of this waypoint, and you can positively identify it by this small airstrip aligned roughly north-south, located just adjacent to that settlement. Passing this waypoint, you want to continue eastbound for another 15 miles towards this terrain that you're going to see looming up ahead of you. And this is going to be where you cross the Lamijura Pass, which is at an elevation of 11,600 feet. I'd recommend crossing that pass at 13,000 feet or higher. Once you're through the Lamijura Pass, you're going to see a smaller mountain about 4 miles away in the valley that's straight ahead of you. You want to plan to fly straight over that mountain, and you'll see the Phaplu airport, which has a paved runway, and that's a few miles south of that mountain. After you pass that mountain north of the Phaplu airport, you can then turn left about 10 degrees or so and descend to 11,000 feet. You want to continue for about 7 miles or so until you spot the Dudh Koshi River. Once you're over the river, you want to follow it north or upstream and descend to 10,000 feet. About 3 or 4 miles upstream, you're going to very quickly spot Lukla and the Lukla airport. So that's basically it. That's the northern route from Kathmandu to Lukla. And what you're going to see in the video is my first attempt at this in some pretty iffy weather. And it'll be relatively easy to spot some of the mistakes I made while you're watching the video. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pick the video up here as I'm passing our first VFR waypoint south of the town of Jiri, and we'll take it from there. So we just passed south of Jiri in Nepal on our way to Lukla, and so you can see we're still kind of in iffy weather, but it's certainly cleared up a lot since we've left Kathmandu. That's the town of Jiri over there, which is kind of one of our VFR waypoints that we're using along this route. We actually climbed up to about 11,000 feet, and that's where we are at the moment. This scenery already looks beautiful, by the way. Love the photoreal textures. Love the way the clouds and the environment and the atmosphere just lend so much to it. It just makes it look incredibly cool. Incredibly beautiful scenery out here. Just amazing. Love the way the clouds and the fog kind of settle in the mountains over there. Just beautiful. I often prefer days like this to fly over really clear days. That's Lamijura Pass up ahead, and we're going to try and go through that pass. Because obviously we can't go straight through these mountains. But we're going to try and make it through this pass up here. Well, I was at 10,000, that didn't seem high enough, so I went up to 11,000, and clearly that's not high enough. And now I'm at 12,000 and still climbing. Alright. Looks like this should be good enough, but I'll go up to 12,500 just to be on the safe side. See a little bit of snow on the slopes here up in the mountains. Incredibly cool. Again, I just love how atmospheric it is. Alright, this should be a good altitude. Let's take a look at the map here. Still doing okay. so that looks like Phaplu Airport down there. So you can see how real-world pilots would find this incredibly challenging. I mean, wow, look at this. This is the kind of weather you get typically out here, too, so that makes things even more interesting. Just incredible. Wonder, is that the river I'm looking for? In fact, it is. So we're going to go ahead and descend down to 10,000 right over the river and follow that river in to Lukla. Pretty cool, challenging, and downright scary navigating like this. Glad I'm doing it in a simulator and not in the real world. Okay, we're following the river north. And so I was supposed to meet that river a little further north than I anticipated. But anyway, found it, so we'll follow that river down to Lukla. So pattern altitude of Lukla, if you can call it a pattern, is 9,700 feet. So the most I'm going to descend down to is 9,700 feet here. And we'll just follow this river in. Really impressive seeing those mountains, especially with those gorgeous photoreal textures kind of looming in the fog there, or looming in the clouds there. Just amazing. Boy, this is a spectacular scenery from Aerosoft. And kind of gives you a taste of things to come with the new photoreal world we're all going to be flying around in Microsoft Flight Simulator next year. Just amazing. If this is the future, bring it on. Bring it on, can't wait. And Microsoft probably has access to way higher quality photorail terrain than Aerosoft does. So I can only imagine how much better this would look in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Just amazing. Okay, so that settlement up ahead looks like it might be Lukla. In fact, I can see the airport, so that's definitely Lukla. So what we're going to do here is descend to 9,700 feet, which is the pattern altitude at which we will fly our right base to runway 06. We'll fly 9,700 feet and we'll turn final at or above 9,500 feet. Going to slow down here, increase our prop RPM to maximum. Turn on all tail wheel lock. $500. And we're staying north of the Dudh Koshi, or sorry, west of the Dudh Koshi River, which is below us in the valley. Going to slow it down to the white arc so that I can start getting my flaps out. Okay, get a couple of notches in. And I can start turning final now. The altitude below which we cannot go around is 9,300 feet. Below that point, you're basically committed to landing at Lukla. Alright, takeoff and landing flaps set. I'm going to aim for about 60 knots or so on the approach. And the threshold for runway 06 is actually at about 9,200 feet. So I want to be careful not to descend too quickly here. The sloping runway creates the illusion that you're high when you're not. In reality, I'm almost flying parallel to the ground right now. All right. Not bad, actually, all things considered. Unlock the tail wheel and keep it rolling here so that I can go up this slope. Not bad at all. Okay, and then I'm going to turn right here. All right. And I'm going to do a 180 parking job here if I can, and try to do it like the pros do. If you ever seen videos of this shot of the real Lukla, it's pretty amazing how these professional pilots get these twin otters turned around in these incredibly tight parking spots. Okay, there we go. And they make it look like a snap. They just turn around in like a heartbeat. All right, there we are. We're down on the ground at Lukla. Made it in one piece somehow. Wow. Look at that. That is stunning. Absolutely breathtaking. Okay, folks, welcome back. We've been on the ground here in Lukla for about an hour, and as you can see, the weather has now changed dramatically, as is pretty typical for the high mountains of Nepal. And we now have an incredibly bright, clear, sunny day here in Lukla. So we're going to hop back in the cockpit here and take advantage of the clear weather to fly down to the Phaplu airport, which we actually passed as we were coming up here to Lukla. Okay, let's close the door. Then we're going to turn on the master switch here in our Turbine Otter. Turn on the nav lights. Turn on the beacon. Then we're going to turn on the boost pump 2 switch here and check that we have fuel pressure. Turn off boost pump 2. Then we're going to turn on boost pump 1. We do have fuel pressure still. So next we're going to turn on the P3 heater here. And then unlatch the guards on both the ignition and starter switches. Then we're going to go ignition switch on and then starter switch on. And once NG goes past 12%, we're going to go... NG is past 12%, so now we're going to go condition lever to run. And we're going to latch it to make sure it doesn't come back during flight by accident. NG is rising, ITT is rising. We can see prop RPM starting to come up there. And we can see NG starting to stabilize around, it should stabilize around 56% or so. Okay, so we had a good start. Let's go ahead and turn off the starter and ignition switches. And latch and guard the switches. Nav master on. Ensure that our inverter is on as well. I'm gonna turn on the tail wheel steering. Release the parking brakes. Okay, we're at the end of the runway here at Lukla, runway 24. We're going to take off downhill. I'm going to get our flaps into the takeoff and landing position. Turn on our nav strobe lights. Ensure our landing light is on. And we have a slight crosswind from the south today, so out of the left, so I'm going to get left aileron into the wind. And I'm going to hold the brakes while developing takeoff power. So we're at a high altitude airport, obviously, so we have to watch the ITT indicator especially closely to make sure it doesn't exceed the limits. And for a high altitude airport, by the way, in a turboprop engine, your ITT limit will be probably the first limit reached. Okay, that's takeoff power. We'll start rolling here. And we locked our tail wheel, by the way. That's another thing we did. Okay, that was a nice smooth takeoff. Retract flaps to climb. And we'll just continue down the Dudh Koshi River Valley here and climb to about 11,000 feet. And obviously a bit sluggish in the climb because we're at a very high altitude airport. It's just to be expected. And again, just absolutely beautiful photoreal scenery here. Just gorgeous. is really amazing just how much the weather can clear in just a matter of an hour here. As soon as the sun gets to a certain angle above the horizon, that's enough to burn off all the clouds and condensation in the air. Simply amazing. All right, we'll level off here at 11,000 feet. Okay, so what we're going to do now is turn to the right here and hop over this ridge into the adjacent valley, and we can then follow that valley down to the Phaplu airport. So we're going to go straight ahead here and cross this ridge straight ahead at the lowest point in the ridge. And I love all the little details and Easter eggs that Aerosoft has placed in the landscape here. So love these little mountain villages and settlements that kind of dot the landscape. Okay, I'm going to turn left into this adjacent valley here and just follow this valley down to the Phaplu airport. And just over to the left there, over that rise, you can see the Phaplu airport coming into sight. That's where we're headed. Pretty cool, there it is. So this is another one of these one-way in, one-way out airports. So we're currently pointed in the direction of runway 20, which is the runway we want to land on. So what we're going to do is continue on upwind here, just parallel to the airport going south, and then we'll make a 180 and enter our downwind at 9,000. And for landing, we'll bring our propeller lever full forward and ensure that our tail wheel is locked. It is. Let me do this again. Okay, tail wheel is locked. Okay, we'll make our 180 here and enter our left pattern and our left downwind for runway 20 at Phaplu Airport. We'll level off here at 9,000. And just fly this downwind here.
500.
To runway 20. So we want to stay at or above 9,000 until we start our descent, which we will do once we enter, once we start our turn to left base there. And there really isn't much of a base leg, really. You're making an almost completely continuous turn to final. Okay, let me get my flaps out. Okay, and I'll start my turn to final here and initiate a 500 foot per minute descent. Flaps in the takeoff and landing position, and tail wheel is locked. We've verified that. So we'll keep our turn going on to final here. There we go, very nice. Gonna roll out on final. And once again, this is another upsloping runway, similar to Lukla, not quite the same extremes though. So I think this is just a 2.5 degree slope. Upslope on runway 20. So that of course, just like in Lukla, creates the illusion that you're higher than you really are.
500.
Gonna slide slip in just a little bit. You can actually hear dogs barking. All right, not bad. That definitely was not an ideal landing. Landed much further down the runway than I needed to, but I figured, oops, let me unlock the tail wheel or turn on the ground steering here so that I can turn. I landed much further down the runway than I wanted to, but I knew that I had reverse propeller reverse capability, and I also could get on the brakes if I needed to, so it worked out okay. All right, we're on the ground here in Phaplu. We're gonna taxi to the ramp and end our adventures up here in Nepal. Beautiful scenery. Okay, let's retract our flaps and we'll turn right here to the ramp. It is pretty cool. They've actually modeled dogs barking. Turn off the landing lights, turn off the strobes. See a lone passenger there waiting for us. Just stunning. Okay, let's go ahead and stop here. Engage the parking brake. And let's go ahead and shut down the engine here. Okay, flaps are retracted, landing light is off, ignition is off, and let's feather the propeller. Condition lever to idle cutoff. And after NG drops below 5%, we'll turn off our fuel boost pump. Alright, there you go, below 5%, fuel boost pump off, beacon off, nav lights off, turn off the P3 heater, nav master off, all electrics are off here. Let's go ahead and turn off our master switch. And we'll open the doors, let the passengers out, and that's it, flight completed. You can hear the dogs barking a lot more clearly now, and I think I can actually see where the dogs are. There are two. There's one of them right there. And I'm not sure if that's a cat or a dog sitting right across from it. Here, let's go take a look. There's our lone passenger here, waiting to go to destinations unknown. Playing on his phone, of course. There's the dog. And no wonder he's barking. He's got a very angry, aggressive-looking cat that he's face-to-face with over here. Amazing. That's amazing. Beautiful job, Aerosoft. Okay, folks, so welcome to Phaplu, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this little trip to visit this wonderful scenery that Aerosoft has crafted here in the high mountains of Nepal. So thanks again for watching. Take care, and as always, if you like this content, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, and make sure to share this content with your friends when you switch frequencies. Take care. Bye-bye. You can see I waited a bit too late to try and side slip it in there. If I'd started that slip earlier, probably would have been able to land on the threshold just fine.